Have you ever felt like you don't belong, like the people around you don't understand you anymore? The conversations feel empty. The friendships that once felt solid now seem distant. And the life you once knew is slowly fading away. It feels like isolation, like you're being set apart. But what if I told you this isn't a punishment? What if I told you this is preparation? Stay with me until the end of this video, and you'll understand why isolation isn't your downfall. It's the setup for something greater. Because here's the truth. God isolates those he has chosen. When you feel like everything is being stripped away, it's because you're being positioned for something beyond what you can see right now. The pain of separation isn't meant to break you, it's meant to build you into who you're destined to be. Most people won't understand this process. They'll tell you to just get out more, to stop overthinking, to be more like everyone else. But you're not like everyone else. And deep down, you know that. The weight you carry isn't the same. The vision inside you isn't ordinary. The path set before you isn't meant to be walked by just anyone. And that's why you've been pulled away. Think about it. Every great leader, every world changer, every person who has ever stepped into their true calling, they all went through a season of isolation. A season where they were misunderstood. A season where the things that once worked stopped working. A season where God took them away from the noise, the distractions, and the people who couldn't go where they were headed. You might be in that season right now, a season where doors seem to be closing instead of opening. A season where the friendships you relied on are suddenly fading. A season where God is removing people, places, and habits from your life. It's confusing. It's frustrating. But what if this isn't rejection? What if this is a redirect? God doesn't isolate those he has forgotten. He isolates those he is preparing. He sets apart the ones he is about to elevate. He takes you into the quiet, not because he's punishing you, but because he needs your full attention. And right now he's working on something inside you that you can't even see yet. But here's where most people fail. They fight the isolation. They run back to the old friendships, the old environments, the old habits. They try to force what God has already removed. And in doing so, they delay their breakthrough, they miss the lesson, they stay stuck in a season they were supposed to outgrow. You can't afford to do that. Not this time. Because this isolation isn't here to destroy you. It's here to prepare you. And if you can endure it, if you can trust it, if you can surrender to what God is doing, then what's coming next will make every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, and every confusing moment worth it. Stay with me. Because as we go deeper, you'll discover exactly why God isolates his chosen ones. And once you understand, you'll never see this season the same way again. Silence is uncomfortable. When everything around you gets quiet, your mind starts searching for noise, for something to fill the emptiness. That's why most people never embrace isolation. They run from it. They drown themselves in distractions, afraid to be alone with their thoughts. But when God isolates you, he isn't punishing you, he's removing the noise. The voices, the opinions, the influences that have shaped you for too long. Because as long as you're surrounded by distractions, you can't hear him clearly. Look at your life. How many times have you ignored that inner voice? How often have you felt pulled in one direction, but let the opinions of others talk you out of it? That's what distractions do. They keep you trapped in cycles that don't serve you. They keep you too busy to recognize when God is trying to shift your path. And so he steps in. He removes the distractions, the people who drain you, the relationships that no longer align with your purpose, the environments that keep you stuck in the same patterns. At first, it felt like a loss, like everything is falling apart. But what if it's actually falling into place? You see, most people never fulfill their true potential because they're too distracted to recognize it. They spend years chasing validation, approval, and attention from people who were never meant to walk with them in the first place. They fill every empty moment with entertainment, social media, or shallow conversations, never giving themselves space to grow. But God is different. He knows that before he can elevate you, he has to separate you. He has to pull you away from the noise so you can develop the discipline, the wisdom, and the focus necessary for your next level. And he does it in a way that forces you to rely on him. Think about this. When was the last time you truly sat in silence? No phone, no conversations, just you and your thoughts. For most people, that's terrifying. Because when you remove the noise, you're left with the truth, and the truth can be uncomfortable. It forces you to face your weaknesses. It exposes the areas where you've settled for less than what you were created for. That's why so many people avoid it. They fill their lives with distractions because distractions make you feel safe. They keep you from having to confront the uncomfortable truth that maybe, just maybe, you were meant for more. But you can't afford to live that way. You're being set apart for something greater. And if you don't allow yourself to go through this process, you'll never step into it. So, if you feel isolated right now, understand this. God isn't taking things away from you. He's clearing the path for something better. He's teaching you to listen, to focus, to grow in ways you never could when you were surrounded by constant noise. And when the distractions are gone, when the unnecessary weight is lifted, you'll realize something powerful you never needed them in the first place. The people, the opinions, the validation, none of it was necessary for the purpose God has for you. The only question is, will you trust Him? Will you embrace the silence, or will you run back to the noise? The choice is yours. Most people think strength comes from what they can see, their physical abilities, their status, their achievements. But real strength, it's built in unseen places. It's built when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one is there to encourage you. That's why isolation is necessary. It forces you to develop inner strength, the kind that doesn't depend on people, circumstances, or comfort. Because if your strength comes from outside sources, what happens when those sources disappear? If your confidence is built on the approval of others, what happens when that approval is taken away? This is why God isolates His chosen ones, to make them unshakable, to make sure that when the storms come in, they will, you don't crumble. He removes the distractions so you can see your own weaknesses, and instead of hiding from them, you're forced to confront them. It's easy to feel strong when life is going well, when things make sense, when you have support. But what about when you don't? What about when you feel completely alone? That's when real strength is tested. That's when you find out who you really are. Look at the strongest people in history, the ones who overcame, the ones who changed the world. They all had a season of isolation, a season where they had no one to rely on but God, a season where they were pushed to their limits, not to break them, but to build them. Because if you're going to carry the weight of greatness, you need the strength to hold it. And that strength isn't built in comfort, it's built in the fire. God isn't just preparing you for where you are, He's preparing you for where you're going. And where you're going requires a version of you that is stronger, wiser, and more disciplined than who you are today. That's why this season feels heavy. Because growth isn't easy. Because breaking old habits, old mindsets, and old versions of yourself is painful. But it's necessary. Because one day, you'll look back at this season and realize it was the turning point. The moment when you stop relying on external validation, the moment when you stop seeking strength from temporary things and started drawing it from within. The moment when you stopped being dependent on the world and started standing firm in who you were created to be. Right now, you might feel weak. You might feel like giving up. But what if this struggle isn't here to destroy you? What if it's here to reveal your true power? God isolates to strengthen. He pulls you away so you can see how much you've been leaning on the wrong things. And once you learn to stand in the fire without breaking, once you build that unshakable foundation, nothing and no one will ever be able to take your strength away again. So don't resist this process. Lean into it. Trust that this isolation isn't punishment, it's preparation. And when the time comes for you to step into what's next, you won't just be ready, you'll be unstoppable. When everything is stripped away, when the distractions are gone, when the people you relied on disappear, when nothing seems to make sense, you're left with one question: who do you really depend on? Most people depend on their own strength, their own plans, their own understanding. But what happens when that strength runs out? When do the plans fall apart? When everything you thought was secure suddenly crumbles? That's when you realize God is all you have. And that's exactly where He wants you to be. Not because He enjoys your struggle, but because He knows the greatest version of you can only be built when your foundation is unshakable. And that foundation, it can't be people. It can't be money. It can't be successful. It has to be Him. This is why isolation is necessary. It removes everything you thought you needed so you can see who you truly need. It's in this season that you learn to trust not when things are easy, not when you have all the answers, but when nothing is certain. That's real faith. Faith isn't built when everything is comfortable. It's built when everything is unknown. Look at your life. How many times have you tried to control the outcome? How often have you placed your trust in things that were never meant to sustain you? Maybe it was people. Maybe it was a job. Maybe it was your own ability to figure things out. And now those things are gone and you feel lost. But what if you're not lost? What if you're exactly where you're supposed to be? Because here's the truth. God doesn't isolate you to leave you empty. He isolates you so he can fill you with something greater. The problem is most people never allow the process to complete. The moment things get uncomfortable, they run back to what's familiar. They try to force open doors that God has already closed. They try to rebuild what was meant to be left behind. But if you do that, you'll never step into what's next. You'll stay in the same cycles, with the same struggles, wondering why things never change. And that's not what you were created for. God is teaching you something right now. He's teaching you that your strength is limited, but his isn't. He's teaching you that when everything else fades, he remains. And if you can learn to trust him in isolation, if you can learn to depend on him when there's no backup plan, then nothing will be able to shake you. So instead of running back, instead of trying to control what's already out of your hands, let go. Surrender. Stop resisting the process. Because the sooner you do, the sooner you'll realize this isolation wasn't here to break you. It was here to build you into someone stronger, wiser, and more unshakable than you ever imagined. Most people stay trapped in cycles, the same struggles, the same mistakes, the same pain repeating over and over again. They want change, but they don't realize that change requires something uncomfortable, breaking away from what's familiar. That's why isolation is necessary. God pulls you away, not just to remove distractions, but to reset your mind. Because if your mind doesn't change, your life won't either. You can't step into a new season with the same old thinking. You can't become who you were meant to be while holding on to patterns that no longer serve you. Look at your past. How many times have you settled for less because you were afraid to lose something comfortable? How many times have you told yourself, this is just the way I am, instead of challenging yourself to grow? How often have you repeated the same toxic cycles, whether in relationships, habits, or decisions, just because they felt familiar? That's the danger of comfort. It keeps you trapped in places that were never meant to hold you. And sometimes the only way to break free is for God to remove you completely. So he isolates you. He separates you from the environments, the people, and the influences that shape the way you think. Because as long as you're surrounded by the same voices, you'll never hear a new one. As long as you're in the same routine, you'll never create a better one. And as long as you're clinging to the past, you'll never step into the future. But here's the hard part. Breaking patterns is painful. The mind resists change. It wants to go back to what's familiar, even if that familiarity is toxic. That's why so many people feel uncomfortable in isolation, because they're left with nothing but their thoughts. And for the first time, they're forced to face the truth. The way they've been living isn't working. And that realization, it's supposed to happen, because awareness is the first step to transformation. So don't resist this process. Don't try to run back to what's comfortable. Let yourself sit in discomfort. Let yourself feel the weight of the patterns that need to be broken. Because only when you face them can you finally be free from them. God isn't just changing your surroundings, he's changing you. He's rewiring the way you think, the way you see yourself, and the way you move through life. Because if you don't change internally, nothing around you will change permanently. So ask yourself, are you willing to let go of the person you used to be so you can step into who you were meant to become? Or will you let fear pull you back into the same cycles you were meant to break? The choice is yours. But know this: God isolates to elevate. If he's pulling you away, it's because he's preparing you for something greater. But you can't take old mindsets into a new season, so let them go. Step into the unknown and trust that what's ahead is far greater than what you're leaving behind. Nothing great is built overnight. Nothing powerful is created without preparation. And nothing truly meaningful happens without a season of separation. God isolates the chosen because he knows what's coming. He sees the future you cannot see. He knows the battles ahead, the weight you will carry, and the purpose you are meant to fulfill. And if you step into that purpose too soon, before you are ready, it will crush you. That's why this season feels heavy. That's why you feel like everything is shifting, like nothing is stable, like you are being pulled away from everything you once relied on. It's not punishment, it's training. Because the person you are today cannot handle the level of greatness God is preparing for you. Look at history. Every leader, every world changer, every person who carried something powerful, they all had a season of preparation. They were all set apart before they were set in place. They all had a period where they felt forgotten, hidden, alone. But that was where they became strong. That was where they were shaped. Because preparation isn't glamorous. It's lonely. It's painful. It forces you to grow in ways that comfort never will. It strips away weakness and replaces it with wisdom. It removes distractions and replaces them with discipline. It destroys self-doubt and replaces it with unshakable faith. But here's the truth. Most people don't want to hear not. Everyone is willing to go through this process. Most people want the reward without the preparation. They want the platform without the patience. They want the promise without the process. But that's not how God works. You are not being set apart for something small. You are being prepared for something greater than you can imagine. And that kind of calling requires a level of strength, wisdom, and faith that can only be built in the fire. So stop questioning why things are changing. Stop fighting the isolation. Stop looking back at what was and start focusing on what's ahead. Because this season is temporary, but what you gain from it will last forever. When God prepares someone for a greater calling, He doesn't ask for permission. He moves. He shifts. He disrupts. And if you don't understand what He's doing, you might mistake preparation for rejection. You might think you've been forgotten when, in reality, you're being positioned. So trust this process. Trust that loneliness has a purpose. Trust that the discomfort is shaping you. And trust that when the time is right, you will step into something far greater than what you ever expected. Because the chosen are never just placed. They are prepared. And when their time comes, they don't just walk into their purpose, they rise into it. Faith isn't proven when things are easy. Faith is tested in the fire. When nothing is going your way, when every door is closing, when the people you trusted walk away. That is when faith is measured not by words, but by action. God isolates the chosen because He knows their journey will require unshakable faith. Not just belief in Him, but trust in His process. Trust when there's no sign of progress. Trust when everything in nature says, give up. Trust when you can't see how things will work out, but you choose to believe anyway. Because here's the reality: pressure reveals who you truly are. Anyone can say they trust God when life is smooth. But what happens when the storm hits? What happens when prayers go unanswered? When delays stretch longer than expected? That's when real faith is tested. Most people break under pressure. They panic. They complain. They run back to old habits, trying to fix things on their own. But the chosen, they endure. They stand firm even when everything is shaking around them, because their foundation is not built on circumstances, it's built on faith. Think about this. If you can't trust God in the wilderness, how will you trust Him on the battlefield? If your faith crumbles in isolation, how will you stand strong when the real challenges come? This season is training your spirit to withstand pressure, to trust without seeing, to believe without evidence. Pressure doesn't just test faith, it strengthens it. It forces you to stop relying on what's seen and start walking by what's unseen. It teaches you to depend on God, not because you have proof, but because you have conviction. And that kind of faith, it moves mountains. But only those who endure the fire come out refined. Only those who refuse to quit develop the kind of strength needed for what's ahead. So ask yourself, how are you handling the pressure? Are you letting it break you, or are you letting it shape you? Because every challenge, every delay, every setback is doing something in you. It's stretching your faith. It's purifying your trust. It's making you unshakable. God isn't just preparing a future for you, He's preparing you for the future. And the strength you develop now, in isolation, will be the very thing that carries you when the weight of your calling is placed on your shoulders. So don't run from the pressure. Embrace it. Stand firm in it. Let it do what it was meant to do, make you stronger than ever before. When everything is stripped away, when the people you relied on are gone, when the opportunities disappear, when the plans you made fall apart, you are left with one truth. God is your only source. And that's exactly where you need to be. Because as long as you have a backup plan, as long as you have a crutch to lean on, you will never fully depend on him. And without full dependence, there is no full power. God isolates the chosen because he knows their strength cannot come from themselves. It has to come from him, not from connections, not from resources, not from personal ability, but from absolute trust in his provision. Look at how life works. When things are good, it's easy to say, I trust God. But when things fall apart, when there's no clear answer, that's when real dependence is tested. Because most people don't truly trust God. They trust him as long as they can still see a way out, as long as they have control, as long as they feel secure. But faith isn't about security in what you can see. It's about security in what you cannot see. When God isolates you, he is teaching you this truth. Nothing in this world is your source, only he is. Not your job, not your relationships, not your abilities. And when you finally understand this, fear loses its grip. Because when you know God is your provider, you stop stressing about who left. You stop panicking when things shift. You stop doubting when plans don't go your way. Because you know everything you need is already in his hands. But most people don't learn this lesson until they are forced to, until they have nothing else to hold on to. And that's why isolation is necessary. Because it removes every false security. It breaks the illusion that you are in control. It forces you to surrender fully and completely. And here's the powerful part. The moment you stop relying on yourself is the moment God's power fully takes over. Because as long as you are still trying to make things happen in your own strength, you are limiting what God can do. But when you let go and you truly say, God, I trust you no matter what, that's when doors open. That's when miracles happen. That's when things start shifting in ways you could never have imagined. But that kind of trust, it is built in isolation. So don't fear this season. It is not meant to destroy you, it is meant to position you. To teach you the one thing that will carry you through every challenge, every battle, every uncertainty in life. Dependence on God is the only way. Life is not about avoiding trials, it's about growing stronger through them. Every hardship, every obstacle, every setback that you face is not meant to break you, it's meant to build resilience. And God isolates the chosen because he knows this. To fulfill your purpose, you need to be unbreakable. Think about the toughest moments in your life, the pain, the disappointment, the moments when you felt like giving up. What if I told you those moments were not a sign of failure, but a sign of strength? Because the truth is, resilience doesn't come from comfort, it comes from overcoming. It comes from standing tall when everything around you is trying to knock you down. God isolates you in these difficult seasons because he is building something in you that will last. He's building resilience. The kind of resilience that doesn't just survive hard times, it thrives in them. It's the resilience that says, no matter what comes my way, I will keep moving forward. But resilience is developed in the fire. It's forged in the pressure. It is not born from ease, but from struggle. And this is why God allows challenges to enter your life. He's not punishing you. He's preparing you. Because you will face even more challenges in the future. And if you can't stand strong through the ones you're facing now, you will be crushed by the ones ahead. So how do you build resilience? It starts by choosing to see every trial as a lesson, every difficulty as an opportunity for growth. The problem is, most people look at challenges and see them as roadblocks. They see them as something to avoid, something to escape. But the chosen, they face their challenges head on. They understand that each obstacle is simply a step in their journey to greatness. Resilience isn't about never falling, it's about how you rise after you've fallen. It's about the strength to get back up no matter how hard the fall was. And the only way to build that strength is to endure. So, if you're in a season of hardship right now, understand this. You are being strengthened. The trials you're going through are not meant to defeat you. They are meant to prepare you for what's ahead. Every time you feel like you're being pushed to the edge, remember, you are being built. You are being molded into someone who will stand strong in any storm. And yes, it will hurt. Yes, it will feel impossible at times. But remember, resilience is not a result of easy times. It is the result of what you've survived. Every battle you fight, every mountain you climb, every challenge you overcome, it builds resilience. So stop asking why things are hard. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Because each lesson you learn through these trials is preparing you for a future you cannot yet see. A future where you will need that resilience to carry you through. Trust the process. Trust the trials. Because the resilience you're building now will be the strength that carries you into your destiny. And when you look back on this season, you won't see the struggle, you'll see the growth. You'll see how far you've come. You'll see that you were never broken. You were being made unshakable. We live in a world full of distractions. Every day there's something pulling your attention, people, circumstances, noise, demands. It's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life, chasing after things that seem urgent but are ultimately unimportant. The world is full of temporary distractions that will never fulfill you. God isolates the chosen because He knows the power of purpose. He knows that if you are not clear on your purpose, you will fall prey to the distractions that steal your focus. That's why He pulls you away from the noise. He knows that in order for you to reach the heights you were destined for, you need to stay grounded in your purpose. Purpose is not something you can just stumble upon. It's something you must cultivate, nurture, and protect. It requires clarity, commitment, and the ability to tune out everything that doesn't align with your calling. And in a world where distractions are endless, staying focused on your purpose is a constant challenge. But isolation clears the path. When God isolates you, He is giving you the space to rediscover what truly matters. He is helping you see beyond the noise of the world and focus on the bigger picture. This is the moment to reconnect with your deepest calling. This is where you find clarity, where you let go of all the things that have been clouding your vision. Distractions come in many forms. Sometimes they are people friends, family, colleagues who pull you in a million directions, telling you what you should do, what you should think, where you should go. Sometimes they are desires, things you think you want, but don't truly need. And sometimes they are fears of failure, fears of what others think, fears of the unknown. But when you are isolated, you have the chance to step away from all of that. You can finally hear the still small voice that calls you to your true purpose. The voice that is not concerned with the opinions of others, not distracted by the trends of the world, and not shaken by the pressures of life. Purpose is clear when you are not distracted. Purpose is loud when everything else is quiet. And that's why God calls you to this place of isolation. It's not because you are abandoned, it's because you are being prepared. He is helping you discover your true calling and equipping you to live it out with unwavering focus. When distractions are stripped away, you begin to realize something profound. Your purpose is not temporary but eternal. The world will change. Trends will fade. People will come and go. But your purpose, that is constant. And when you stay anchored in your purpose, no distraction can take you off course. The isolation is a gift. It allows you to clear your mind, center your thoughts, and align your heart with your true calling. It prepares you to face the world again, but this time with a sense of clarity that can't be shaken. When the distractions are gone, you can see clearly. You can see what really matters and what doesn't. You can see what is worth your energy and what is simply a detour. The chosen are not distracted by the temporary. They are driven by the eternal. So embrace this season of isolation. Use it to clear the distractions and focus on what truly matters. When you emerge from this season, you will be laser focused, unwavering in your purpose, and ready to face whatever comes next. And nothing, no distraction, no noise, no opposition will be able to derail you from the path you are meant to walk. In today's world, everything is rushed. People want success instantly. They want results right now. The pressure to achieve quickly, to be seen, to be acknowledged, often feels overwhelming. But true greatness is not built in a moment, it is built over time. God isolates the chosen because He understands that success cannot be rushed. He knows the power of patience, the importance of timing, and the danger of pushing forward before you are truly ready. Patience is not just waiting, it's what you do while you wait. It's the work you put in when no one is watching. It's the trust you have when nothing seems to be happening. In isolation, you learn to trust God's timing. You learn that what you are waiting for is not being delayed, it's being prepared. You might not see the movement, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. While you are waiting, God is positioning you, refining you, and orchestrating things behind the scenes that will make everything fall into place at the perfect time. It's easy to get frustrated when things don't happen as quickly as you want. The world tells you that you need to move fast, to seize every opportunity, to make things happen on your own. But true success doesn't come from forcing your way through. It comes from following God's lead, step by step, at the pace He sets for you. Patience builds trust. When you rush things, you miss the lessons that are meant to prepare you for what's ahead. God's timing is always perfect. And when you are in the right place at the right time, doors will open that you never could have imagined. But if you are too impatient, too eager to rush ahead, you could miss the opportunity altogether. Patience also strengthens your character. It teaches you to endure, to persevere, to stay faithful, even when you don't see the results. And the beauty of patience is that it does something within you. It makes you more than just a person with a dream. It makes you someone who can handle the weight of that dream when it comes to fruition. Think about a tree. A tree doesn't grow overnight. It doesn't force itself to grow faster. It simply grows at its own pace, trusting the process. And over time, its roots deepen, its branches stretch, and it becomes strong enough to withstand the storms that come its way. Your purpose is the same. It's growing beneath the surface, even when you don't see it. The isolation you are experiencing is part of that growth. It's teaching you to trust the process, to trust that even when you can't see the progress, God is still at work. Patience allows your roots to grow deep. It allows your foundation to be strong. When you learn patience, you also learn that everything in life has a season. There's a time for planting, a time for growth, and a time for harvest. But if you try to rush any part of the process, you will never see the fullness of what God has in store for you. So, don't despise the waiting season. Embrace it. Use this time to grow, to prepare, and to trust that everything is unfolding according to God's perfect plan. When you emerge from this season, you will be stronger, wiser, and more prepared than ever before to walk into the future He has for you. And when the timing is right, everything you've been waiting for will come together, and you will know that it was worth every moment of waiting. In a world that is constantly noisy, constantly demanding attention, silence can feel like a foreign concept. We live in a time where everything is fast-paced, where distractions are everywhere, and where people are always talking. But true strength is not found in the noise, it is found in the silence. God isolates the chosen, not to punish them, but to help them discover the power of silence. Silence is where you can hear your own thoughts, reconnect with your true self, and allow your mind to find peace. In the silence, God speaks in ways that cannot be heard when you are constantly bombarded with the noise of the world. We often think that we need to be busy to be productive, that we need to be constantly on the move to get things done. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. The most profound growth happens when you stop running and take time to reflect, to think deeply, and to listen to the inner voice that is guiding you. Isolation gives you the space to be silent, to slow down, and to truly process everything that has been happening in your life. It allows you to ask the hard questions, to confront the fears and doubts that you've been avoiding. It's in this stillness that you come face to face with your true self. It's where you discover your strengths, your weaknesses, and your deepest desires. Most people avoid silence because it forces them to confront the things they don't want to face. It forces them to slow down and think. But silence is not your enemy. It's in silence that you can find clarity, peace, and purpose. It's where you can truly hear from God without the distractions of the world drowning out His voice. This is where strength is forged. Strength is not just about physical power or outward success. It is about the inner fortitude that comes from knowing yourself, understanding your purpose, and having the courage to face whatever comes your way. Silence and self-reflection allow you to develop that inner strength because you are learning to trust yourself, to trust your instincts, and to listen to the quiet wisdom within you. It's in those quiet moments that you can process your struggles, learn from your mistakes, and find the clarity you need to move forward with confidence. Silence allows you to heal, to recharge, and to be restored in a way that noise and busyness never can. It gives you the strength to face the challenges ahead because you've taken the time to reflect and prepare mentally and emotionally. Remember, isolation is not about being alone. It's about being alone with your thoughts, your dreams, and your God-given purpose. It's about getting away from the noise and distractions long enough to truly listen, to truly understand what's happening in your heart and mind. Only then can you move forward with a sense of direction and clarity. So, embrace the silence. Don't fear it. Use it as an opportunity to reflect, to grow, and to become the strongest version of yourself. When you are quiet, when you are still, that's when you can hear the voice of wisdom, the voice of God leading you forward. And it's in this silence that you find the strength to stand firm in your purpose, no matter what life throws at you. It's easy to look at others and compare yourself to them. You see their success, their achievements, their public lives, and it's tempting to think that they have it all figured out. But you may not see the full picture. You may not see the challenges, the sacrifices, the unseen battles that they fought to get to where they are. God isolates the chosen because he knows you are being prepared for something bigger than you can even imagine. In the quiet moments of isolation, you are being refined. You are being prepared for a higher level of impact. The greatness you're destined for cannot be achieved by staying in your comfort zone, by staying where you are right now. You have to grow. You have to be stretched. You have to learn to navigate challenges that will elevate you to new heights. Sometimes the process can feel painful. It can feel like you're being stripped away from the things that you've known, the things that made you feel comfortable. But the reality is, God is preparing you for a bigger stage, a wider audience, a higher purpose. You can't do that if you're still stuck in the same place, still operating at the same level. Isolation is not punishment, it's preparation. During this time, God is building you up for a greater purpose than what you could ever have imagined. Every challenge, every setback, every struggle is part of the process. Each experience is teaching you something that will help you when you step into your true purpose. You may not see the full picture right now, but trust that everything is coming together to prepare you for a higher level of impact. The reason many people stay in their current circumstances is because they've never been stretched beyond what's comfortable. They've never had to face the hard truths about themselves, the limitations they placed on themselves, or the strength they need to rise above. But you are different. You are being prepared to do more, to be more. There are levels to this life, and each level requires a different version of you. The version of yourself that will rise to the challenge of your calling is being developed right now. The isolation you're experiencing is helping you build the strength, the clarity, and the resilience you will need to handle the higher level of impact you are meant to have. Imagine being given a great responsibility before you're ready. The weight of it would be too much to bear. But as you grow, as you mature, as you are prepared in this time of isolation, you will be able to step into your future with confidence and strength. You will be ready for the responsibility, the challenges, and the opportunities that are waiting for you. God knows what he's doing. He's not overlooking you. He's not neglecting you. He's preparing you. The impact you will make in this world requires a version of you that can handle everything that's coming. And the only way to get there is through this season of isolation and preparation. So don't rush through this season. Don't let the impatience of wanting to be somewhere else cause you to miss the opportunities that are present right now. Use this time to prepare yourself for what's coming. You are being shaped for greatness, and this time of isolation is where your true potential is being unlocked. When the time is right, you'll step into your purpose with the strength, the wisdom, and the impact needed to change the world around you. There are moments in life when everything feels unclear. You may feel lost, uncertain, or unsure of where your path is leading. It's easy to doubt yourself during these times, to question your purpose, and to wonder why you're being held back. But there's a reason for the isolation. God is not just preparing you for any ordinary life. He's preparing you for a higher calling, a destiny that requires every ounce of strength, faith, and resilience you have within you. The truth is, many people go through life without ever truly understanding their calling. They exist, but they never really live. They chase the things that don't matter. striving for temporary success, seeking approval from others, and settling for mediocrity. But you are different. Your journey is meant to be greater. And the isolation you are experiencing is part of the process that will elevate you to the higher calling that you were made for. In those moments of solitude, you are being shaped for something bigger. You may not fully understand it yet, but God is preparing you for a destiny that will require everything you've learned and experienced along the way. This isn't about just achieving success in the world's eyes. It's about stepping into a purpose that aligns with your true calling, a purpose that transcends any temporary material gain. Isolation is a divine preparation. It's in these moments that God is teaching you what is truly important, helping you discover the depth of your potential and giving you the courage to step into a purpose that is beyond yourself. When you answer your higher calling, it's not just about you, it's about serving others, making a lasting impact, and fulfilling the unique mission that only you can fulfill. The higher calling you are being prepared for isn't something that can be rushed. It requires patience, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to your purpose. God is using this time to build the foundation you'll need to stand firm when the challenges come. Every struggle, every lesson, every period of silence is helping you develop the character and strength required to carry out your calling. And understand this, you won't find your higher calling in comfort. It's easy to think that your life's purpose will unfold smoothly, without any bumps in the road. But a higher calling requires sacrifice, focus, and a willingness to step out of your comfort zone. The isolation you're in right now is part of your spiritual preparation. It is teaching you to let go of distractions and focus on what truly matters. It's allowing you to grow into the person who will stand strong in the face of adversity and fulfill the mission you've been given. If you're feeling uncertain or unsure about the future, know this: God hasn't forgotten you. He's not punishing you. He's preparing you. The journey may feel long, but each day you are growing, learning, and becoming more equipped for the higher calling you are destined for. Sometimes it's the isolation that shows you exactly what you're capable of. It's in these quiet moments, away from the distractions of the world, that you discover the strength you never knew you had, the resilience you never thought possible. And when the time comes for you to step into your higher calling, you'll know that you've been prepared for it every step of the way. So hold on to your faith. Trust in the process. This season of isolation is not a setback. It's the divine preparation that will take you to a place you could never have reached without it. When you step into your higher calling, you will have the strength, wisdom, and character to fulfill it. And in that moment, you will understand that every trial, every period of waiting was worth it because it led you to your true purpose. You've been through the isolation. You've faced the silence. You've embraced the struggle, the discomfort, and the uncertainty. Now it's time to step forward. It's time to embrace the purpose that has been cultivated in you through this entire journey. What you've learned, how you've grown, and the strength you've developed during this time have all been leading to this moment. You are no longer the same person who began this journey. You've been transformed. The experiences, the challenges, and the solitude have molded you into someone stronger, wiser, and more prepared than ever before. Now, you must take that strength, that clarity, and that sense of purpose and use it to move forward, to take action, and to pursue the calling that's been waiting for you all along. Embracing your purpose isn't just about knowing what you're meant to do. It's about having the courage to act on it. It's about stepping into the unknown with faith, knowing that you are prepared for whatever lies ahead. You've been isolated for a reason to become the person capable of handling the responsibility that your purpose demands. Now, the world is waiting for you to step into it. This journey hasn't been easy, and it may never be, but that's part of what makes it meaningful. Purpose is not found in ease, it is forged through challenge. The obstacles you've faced and the lessons you've learned have all been shaping you for this very moment. You are stronger now, more resilient, and more focused on what matters. The isolation, the silence, the preparation, it's all led you here. But the journey doesn't stop here. The real work begins now. You've done the inner work, and now it's time to take the next step and move forward. You've developed the strength, the clarity, and the wisdom to take on whatever challenges come your way. Don't let fear hold you back from stepping into your destiny. You are ready for what's next. If this message resonated with you and you feel empowered to take action on your purpose, don't just sit there. Share this message with others who need to hear it. Like this video if it spoke to you, and subscribe to continue receiving content that will help you grow into the person you were always meant to be. This channel is dedicated to helping you unlock your full potential and step into the greatness that's waiting for you. Now, it's your turn to take action. Don't let this moment pass without doing something about it. Share this video with someone you know who needs to hear it. Let them know that they too are being prepared for something greater. Like, share, and subscribe to continue the journey with us. Together we'll embrace our higher purpose and take on the world with strength, courage, and faith. Your purpose is waiting. Don't hesitate. Step forward with confidence. The world is waiting to see what you're capable of.